Bjornsson just deadlifted 505 kilograms, an all-time world record at Eisenhart in Germany, in competition, the biggest conventional deadlift in history. No one has ever done this, not in competition, not in training, not anywhere. But here's what makes it even more impressive. He was forced to change his technique on the day because the platform surface interfered with his usual setup. He couldn't use the technique that he's practiced for over a decade. And even with that change, he still deadlifted more than anyone ever has. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what happened behind the scenes. The platform itself was a brand new powerlifting platform built by Eleiko, and these platforms have a carpet surface. This style of platform is more common in powerlifting, but in strongman it's practically never used, and Thor never trains or competes on carpet. When the bar is loaded with any heavy weight, rolling it across carpet becomes a problem. The bar slows down and creates ripples and wrinkles in the surface, which interferes with the path of the bar. And that's exactly what happened. Thor couldn't roll the bar in cleanly. The bar would catch or veer slightly off track, and that threw off his setup, so he had to make a change on the fly. This is not an excuse. It's part of what makes this lift even more impressive. High-level lifters performing a lift of this magnitude rely on consistency on all equipment being used. Check this out. This is a video of Eddie Hall explaining his conditions to deadlift 500 kilograms in 2017.
With the 500 kilo deadlift, one of my conditions was I took my platform with me from the gym. So I already had the bar. I was training with Eleiko plates, and I actually lifted my platform up, put it in a van, drove it up there and set it up so that the 500 kilo deadlift was done on the platform that I trained with.
And I agree with this. The world wants to see this lift, and why not make sure the conditions are ideal for this to happen? At this level, details like the type of barbell, the plates, and the lifting platform being used make a huge difference. For many lifters, a surface like that wouldn't really matter. Most lifters set up statically. They wedge into position, brace, and pull from a dead stop. But Thor and several of the best super heavyweight deadlifters on the planet are built differently, and as a result, lift differently. Thor weighed just under 200 kilograms body weight to pull this 505. Eddie Hall was the same weight when he pulled 500 kilograms. And so many of the best deadlifters in strongman are just massive. And bending down to the perfect start position to do a max deadlift isn't as simple as how normal sized people bend over to grab a bar. It's extremely difficult to get the bar directly over the midfoot with everything else aligned unless they roll it in. The roll in lets them land in the strongest position right as the bar leaves the floor. Thor drilled that exact setup for over a decade. It's not only about momentum, it's about precision. We've tested pulling from a dead start, and it's never been as strong. The roll in works for him, but on this carpeted platform, that technique didn't work. The surface slowed down the roll, redirected the bar, and forced Thor to improvise mid-comp. And when you're going for the biggest deadlift in history, you don't want to be using a technique that you don't practice. But Thor had to. Let's go through the attempts. First attempt, 435 kilograms. Thor tried to roll the bar in with his usual technique, and it caught. That threw off his timing and position. That's why we open conservatively. If something goes wrong, he can still make the lift. And as expected, 435 kilograms flew up. But if that same issue had happened at 505, it could have cost him the lift. So Thor had to adjust. Second attempt, 470 kilograms. He shortened the roll in to reduce the chance of the bar catching, but his start position was still off. He dropped his hips lower than usual, which pushed the shins forward, moved the bar out in front of his base of support, and forced the hips to shoot up early so that the knees could get out of the way. Heavy deadlifts don't leave the ground unless the bar is directly over the midfoot. Thor lost his usual strength off the floor. Most people didn't notice because he still moved 470 kilograms faster than anyone in history has ever pulled that weight with a conventional deadlift. Third attempt, 505 kilograms. Same issue again. Start position was off. Same glitch at the bottom. That's what stressed me out the most. To pull 505, everything needed to be perfect, and it wasn't. At that moment, I thought he wasn't going to get it. But Thor is so damn strong. Even with the errors, he held on and locked it out. 505 kilograms, new all-time world record, done. Here's the truth. If the platform had been familiar, if it hadn't been carpeted, if he'd been able to use his full technique, that lift would have looked like a warm-up. And in 6 weeks, Thor will have that chance. He's going for 510 kilograms to break his own world record again. This time at Giants Live World Deadlift Championship, using a platform that he's used to with the technique that he's practiced for years. And if everything goes to plan, if he peaks well, the surface is clean and the setup is familiar, that 510 kilograms is going to look easier than that 505. So when people ask who's the strongest deadlifter on the planet, it's not even a debate. It's Thor. And now the numbers back it up. Stay tuned, it's coming.